Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, assess, and control your emotions as well as people's emotions around you and the group's emotions. And part of this presentation was if we had to pick a topic, whether it's a real life example or with someone with high emotional intelligence or low emotional intelligence, or pick a TV character. And I wanted to make it fun for everybody. So I picked Betty White's character of Rose Nyland from the Golden Girls. And when I was working on this, my kiddo said, "Who are you going to work on? Who are you going to present?" And I said, "Betty White." She goes, "You picked the dumb one?" I said, "Yeah." And that's kind of what she has, that facade of being the airhead, not knowing what's going on. But Betty White's character Rose really does have the ability and has a high emotional intelligence skills, and I'm going to present that. So again, emotional intelligence is being able to identify, assess, and control your emotions as well as others around you. Okay. The first portion of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. And basically it's being able to perceive your emotions and your tendencies. It's understanding what makes you tick. It's also being aware of the reactions around you with people in certain situations. And a good example of this with Rose Nyland in Golden Girls is, have you ever noticed that no matter what conflict she has, she really does not get upset. She does not get flustered. She keeps it in, and she is aware of her emotions, but she handles herself very composed. She's always subdued, I would say. And an example, in preparation for this presentation, I got to do some homework, so I watched 3 hours of the Golden Girls on Monday night, and I was like, this is great. But one example is that she lost her job, and she was 60 years old, and Rose's character was really downtrodden because she had been on multiple job interviews, and no one wanted to hire her, but she kept that to herself, and she didn't let that affect her ability and her emotions and her interactions with other people. So that's the first component of emotional intelligence, is being aware of yourself and being aware of your emotions and how are you conducting yourself with other people. The second component is self-management, and that's your awareness of your emotions to be flexible and to remain positive. It's being able to tolerate uncertainty as well as resist explosive or problematic behavior. And I think a great example of this is comparing B. Arthur's character of Dorothy to Rose. Dorothy was a teacher. She was from New York or Italy, and she was, really boisterous and really demonstrative in her actions. And especially when Sophia pushed her buttons, it's always "Ma!" And her arms go flailing around, And you don't see that with Rose at all. Someone could be really snarky to Rose, or Blanche could be really belittling, and she doesn't handle that the same way. It takes her a while to build up to that point. So Rose really manages herself. Well, again, she's composed, she's subdued. And that's important, as we all know today. In our daily interactions with people, it's how you manage yourself and handle yourself is how you present. And that's really important. The third component is social awareness. Being able to pick up on people's emotions and your emotions is being able to listen and observe. And I also say absorb. Especially in our business, we have to absorb the emotions of our patients that we encounter. But in regards to the Golden Girls, Blanche or Dorothy would come in with a story and they were always upset, and it could be just the littlest things that would just ruin their day. And Rose would go in and try to relate with stories from St. Olaf, right? Half the time it wouldn't even come close to hitting the nail on the head, but she did it. She is trying to make that connection. She is trying to sympathize and tell the person that is having a bad day, I understand, I feel for you. I had a similar situation, even though the other person half the time did not relate to that situation. It was, she made that connection. And in part of that, making that connection leads to the fourth part of emotional intelligence, is relationship management. It's being able to be aware of your emotions in order to have successful interactions. It's communicating. It's being able to handle conflict appropriately. You know, and you build that connection with people over time. A good example I saw the other night of this was when Rose lost her job. She was working at a center for people who were sick, people who lost their jobs. They had other issues. And when she lost her job at that center, the center closed. So all these people had no support system, had nowhere to go. And Rose went up to each person and said, here's my number, call me day or night. She made that relationship with people. She let people know that she cared about them. Now, some people did call her in the middle of the night at 3 in the morning, and Dorothy was really mad. And you know, Rose is like, that's just an expression, I didn't mean it. But she made people feel like she cared about them. So, you know, these are the 4 important components of emotional intelligence. They are your self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. I thank you guys for being my audience today. I do appreciate it.